Good morning and welcome to the African American Alumni Keynote Speaker for the morning. We are, on behalf of the Alumni Association, I greet all of you today on Saturday, noontime. The sun is shining here in Cleveland, and I know you're all over the United States, so welcome in the different time zones. Thanks for joining us. We thank you for all of the support that everyone has given us for this 2020 virtual homecoming celebration. We had a wonderful time on yesterday and especially last night as we did our candlelight vigil in memory of our dear sister Stephanie Tubbs Jones, Congress lady, a fine woman, and I think everybody enjoyed that. Thank you for your encouragement and your support. Today we are highly honored to have the first African American Ohio Supreme Court Justice, Melody Stewart. I had the brief occasion of meeting her in May 2019 when my godson was sworn in as an attorney. And she came out in the hall and she just kind of saw me and my little godchildren sitting. And she said, "Why are you all sitting there? Come on in." And from that moment on, I felt her warmth and her genuine personality, one of caring and support for all. So let me read a little bit about her. We certainly welcome you this morning. Justice Stewart was elected in November 2018 as a full term and as the 161st justice to serve on the Ohio Supreme Court. She was sworn in January 2nd, 2019, and her last day of this current term will be January 2nd, 2025. Prior to joining the Supreme Court, Justice Stewart served on the 8th District Court of Appeals, elected to an unexpired term in 2006 and twice re-elected to full terms. She serves as the court's administrative judge in 2013. She has more than 30 years of combined administrative, legal, and academic experience. She was an administrator for a healthcare management company, a music teacher, a civil defense fighter, litigator, and so on. She earned her Bachelor of Music degree from the College Conservatory of Music at the University of Cincinnati. That's pretty awesome. She also earned her law degree from Cleveland Marshall School Law School, and then her PhD from Case Western Reserve Mandel Leadership. We are so honored to have you today. Everybody, you can go on the Supreme Court of Ohio and look at her beautiful resume and see all that she's done. I am so happy to welcome you today. Enjoy yourself and take all the time you need.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that it's a beautiful day, fall day for you, wherever you are. Before I begin, just make two, let me say two things and make one correction. I was introduced as the first African-American to be on the Ohio Supreme Court. Not true. The first African-American male was actually appointed to the Supreme Court in 1969 and then got elected in 1971. So that was Robert Duncan, and he became the first. Fast forward to 40 years later, in 2010, excuse me, in 2010, then Governor Ted Strickland appointed Yvette McGee-Brown to the Ohio Supreme Court. So she was actually the first African-American woman to serve on the Ohio Supreme Court. Then 8 years later, I ran and was elected. So I am the first African-American woman elected to the position, but the third to have served on the court in the court's 214 years. And also another interesting note, Stephanie Tubbs Jones, who, we all know, a lot of us knew personally, or if you didn't know her personally, you knew of her, and an esteemed alum of our alma mater, actually was the first African-American woman to run for the Ohio Supreme Court. And she barely missed that election too. So just wanted to say those things. And Vera was a little surprised or thought it was great that I went to the College Conservatory of Music at the University of Cincinnati. And as I often tell people, with a name like Melody, what else was I going to study in college but music, right? So that's wanted to start off with there. So thank you to the leadership team and to the organizers who put together the events particularly for the African American Alumni Association component of the homecoming weekend. And I'm honored to be your keynote speaker today. Let me tell you a bit about my background and who I am, other than the resume stuff, because ironically, I was born and raised in the city of Cleveland, just around the corner from Case Western University Reserve's campus. I was raised in a single parent home, grew up on 97th off Huff, an area that's now 97th off Chester in the Huff area of Cleveland, an area that's known now as Cleveland Clinic because they own just about everything over there. Went to Charles Orr Elementary School, which is right on 105, and they're brand new apartment buildings that are built there. Went to that elementary school for a while, got my music start, my music education around the corner too, at the Cleveland Music School settlement. So that's where I began to start my education in music. And so I'm a native Clevelander through and through, and would have never known that Case Western Reserve University, the big institution around the corner, is a place that would one day help to further my education. And to end this part of that background, to give you a full circle moment. So I started school around the corner at Charles Orr Elementary, which is in the Cleveland Public Schools system. And my kindergarten teacher at the time was a woman, Marjorie Alexander, who lived on Wade Park around the Case Western University area, 115th, 110th Wade Park area. While I was doing my doctoral work at MSAS, I would see her and her husband go for their morning walks. So after decades of not being in contact with her, I reunified with her and rekindled our relationship. So much so that when I defended my doctoral dissertation over at the Mandel School in 2008, she and her husband came and listened to my dissertation defense. So my kindergarten, my mother, who unfortunately had passed by that time, who had been gone for 8 years, my kindergarten teacher was there for my doctoral dissertation defense. So that was a full circle educational moment for me. As I read the summary of what it was I was supposed to talk to you about today, I saw that the blurb in the event said, "The weekend celebration continues with a special keynote address by me, motivating us to action during this very historic time in our society." Now, I have to tell you, first thing I thought was, I'm pretty sure that the folks tuned into this session probably don't need to hear a word from me about being motivated. Not today, not with what's going on. And if you find that you are not motivated at all right now, I would suggest you take your pulse to be sure that you're really still with us. So I find it hard to believe that African Americans today, people of color, and people in general actually, are not motivated to do something in this unprecedented time. You know, that phrase we've been hearing since March, unprecedented time. What time is it? It's unprecedented time. But I digress. So I'm not sure it's a lack of motivation that any of us have, quite frankly. I think the questions more so are what can we do? What is it that we're supposed to be doing? What can we do? What can I do? There are peaceful protests going on. Some of you may have been a part of those. Some might say, yeah, I'm not really the protest kind of person. And that's fine too. Some people have helped with voter registration. Some people have helped with census, taking the census. And what's particularly interesting is that we are now 55 years removed as of August from the Voting Rights Act of 1965. So for those of us who are 55 and older, you know, for our entire lifetime, there was a period where the governments of our country made it difficult to vote. So here we are 55 years later, and we are still looking at that systems and mechanisms put in place to disenfranchise And I wonder how we got here, and how is it that 55 years later, we're still fighting some of those same battles. Um, but in addition to the census work and the voting, doing things to help people get registered to vote and to do poll work, what else is there to do? I think that to the extent that we are where we're supposed to be right now, then there is something in our small part of the world, be it our community, our homes, our jobs, where we can make a difference. We have to continue to do our part. It's not a 24/7 job necessarily, but we must always find a way to be a part of some solution, because I truly believe when you're not part of a solution, you do remain part of a problem. So what does that mean, and what does it look like? Well, I'm often have to remind myself that we are where we are for just a time such as this. You know, for those who are familiar with that. If those words have any meaning to me or to anyone, then we have to be aware of the fact that we are right where we are now for some reason. And it is up to us to discover what those reasons are. I'm on the Supreme Court right now when I think no one, by any estimates, gave me a legitimate chance of winning that race. You know, being the first African-American female elected to that court for a reason. And whether I'm there for one term or 2 terms or 3 terms, there are things that I am supposed to do while I'm there. And I guarantee you, I spend every day of my job trying to discern what that is. Sometimes it's making my colleagues see things from a perspective that they couldn't see things from because they're not African American, or because they weren't raised in a single parent home, or because they weren't raised in an urban neighborhood. And sometimes it's just lending a voice. It's writing a dissenting opinion that evidences those things, or that will allow the reader to look at things from a different perspective. And even from a smaller standpoint, as a justice on the court, each of us have 4 staff members that are personal to us. The Chief Justice has 5, but we have 4 personal staff members, not to mention the entire rest of the 250 members who work at the court and the divisions that we oversee. But in my personal staff, I have 4 people, and 2 of those people are suffering from some particular hardships right now. My executive assistant is caregiving for her mother. And there are often times when she has to stop what she's doing and leave work or get on the phone and talk to doctors. And so she's diligently trying to combine her work life with her home life. I don't know if she would be able to maintain her job if she didn't have an understanding boss or employer. I understand that because one, I've had to do it myself, but I'd like to believe that even if I hadn't had to do it myself, I would still be understanding and supportive as I could be. One of my judicial attorneys, one of my law clerks, was recently diagnosed with a tumor in his brain and has to leave with his wife in a couple of weeks to go to another state because he found a surgeon that can do this particular surgery and has done a lot of them. He has been with me my entire judicial career. He's the one law clerk that I've had since day one. And now he's going to have potentially life-threatening surgery, or he might come back fine. And it just so happens that we did a lot of work at the beginning of the year so that we got pretty well caught up. And so it is this time that he was, and when we were in COVID and shutdown, he lost 40 pounds. He's in the best health of his life. Or in recent times. And so I say those things to say that we are here for times just like these, even in our personal lives, or and some of you are probably resonating with some of this now because something has happened recently with a loved one or with a friend or with a colleague. And so I think it's just important that we remain aware of that, going forward. I think we encourage, I think the sentiment encourages us to make a difference in wherever we can make a difference. And I think that's everybody has that sort of meaning in life. And when we look at the unrest, the social unrest going on in our country, and the debate about whether there is systemic racism, particularly when it comes to the justice system and law and enforcement, we see things going on in our world, and a lot of us default to anger, and we are heartbroken, and sometimes maybe even feel hopeless about it. I encourage you not to do that. We are human beings, and we suffer through our human emotions. But after we do those and get past those, then we need to try to have a better understanding. We need to put ourselves in the shoes of the people on the other side. And let me give you an example. Let's look at the Brianna Taylor situation. And I only know about it what you know about it through the media. And people are angry at the police officers who unleashed a tirade of bullets into that home that killed Brianna Taylor, and not knowing whether there were children there or parents or elderly people, just unleashed a tirade of bullets. And the district attorney has decided that that shooting was justified because the initial shot came from inside the house and the police officers had the right to defend their own lives. My first thought that was, who thought it was a good idea to execute a no-knock warrant at midnight to look for drug items? It wasn't that, you know, El Chapo or some notorious criminal on the FBI list was in that apartment. It was to execute a search warrant to look for criminal contraband. So why couldn't that warrant be exercised at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Unless the police officers who did that shooting sat down in one of their kitchen floor and decided to go into Brianna Taylor's house and kill her on intention, I don't know that our anger should be as directed toward them as it is toward the people who put them in that situation. The one officer was shot, could have been killed too, but he wasn't. But Brianna Taylor had her body pumped full of bullets. Who thought it would be safe for anybody to execute a no-knock warrant under those circumstances? Those are the decision makers we need to look at, who put not only civilians' lives in harm's way, but who also put officers' lives in harm's way. When we look at the infractions we've had or the encounters we've had with police and civilians where the civilian ends up being shot dead, we, I think, too, have to then ask ourselves, when we see what we see just through the media, is the police officer may have used excessive force, but how much harm do we think police officers have to put themselves in to make an arrest before they pull their weapons and before they use their weapons? Should they have to get into a 20-minute fisticuffs with a suspect? Should they have to have their faces pummeled and beaten or arms broken or limbs taken off to effectuate arrest? And I mean a lawful arrest. So again, there are positions on both sides. I think some people make bad decisions, but that doesn't necessarily make them bad people. And we have to be able to separate the two. And we need all sides at the table if we're gonna resolve any of this conflict. It can't just be us against them or them against us. Everybody needs to be at the table. Everybody needs to be able to speak freely about what's going on and what they perceive is going on. And if we are interested in finding a solution, then we have to be open-minded to that. Nobody is a throwaway, not criminal defendants, not police officers, even those who use excessive force or who we call bad police officers. You know, even in the justice system, we are all informed by our implicit or our unconscious biases. We need to spend more time checking against those such that we don't disproportionately impact a certain group of people, or that our treatment of people in the justice system is all fair. In closing, I'd just like to say that if everyone simply looks around where they are, where you are today, in your job and in your workforce, if you see something that unfairly discriminates against someone based on anything, you know, gender, ethnicity, religious background or affiliation, political affiliation, height, anything like that, you have to address that and try to rectify the situation. And I will give you a very small example. A friend of mine was a principal at a school, and mailboxes were lined up so the teachers would, go to get their mails or something that was in their box. One of her teachers was a fairly short woman who, for some reason, had a box all the way at the top end of the mailboxes. And so when that teacher would have to go to get her mail, she'd have to bring over a box or a step stool and tippy toe to get her mail. She never said anything to anybody. She didn't want to rock the boat or et cetera. And I think because they were alphabetical, so this is how they were put. And so the principal said, that makes no sense. Why should you have to climb up on a box and reach way up to get your mail when you should have it eye level? Forget the fact that it won't be in alphabetical order. There are teachers who are taller than you are who can get their mail. And then made that simple change. And that was probably an unconscious discrimination against her based on her height without even knowing it. So look around, be conscious, be aware of things that go on in your life, and try not to stay stuck in our own avenues. And I will end with saying, because we are part of an institution, an educational institution, a place of higher ed, where we are tasked with being more knowledgeable, of having maybe more credibility than some of our brothers and sisters and our counterparts who have not been formally educated or who have not had the opportunities that we have. We still have to be with them, not in a way that is better than who they are, because we're not. We are more educated, we're more formally educated, because a lot of people without a degree have a lot of common sense. And there are, of course, those of us who have degrees who don't use our common sense or don't have it as much. I say that to say that common sense is just not all that common anymore, I guess. So we have to remember that we are still part of that community. We are part of the Case Western Reserve community. We are part of the African American community. We are part of the human community. So I thank you all for your time and attention, and please stay safe.
Justice Stewart, we're going to turn it over to Sharice, who is going to moderate the question and answer. So Sharice, I am going to mute myself and take it away.
Thank you, Brad. Okay, so we have quite a few questions coming in right now for Justice Stewart. So I'm just going to jump right in.
Okay.
The first question is, it has been said that emotions and not bias are often the variable that drive disparate decisions within police encounters. What explains the disparate judgments in the courtroom?
I believe that one of the things that explains it is implicit bias. I believe that when we say implicit or unconscious bias, it is both positive and negative. I do believe that, and we're not just talking about, let's say, white judges and Black defendants, because there are instances where Black judges or African American judges also lend disparate treatment. I believe in our society in the United States and with all of our history, there is a negative bias against people of color. And that bias is by white people, and that bias is by other people of color, including African Americans. And we have to check against that. We have to recognize that those fear, and that's why we at the Supreme Court, Justice, before she leaves office, desperately trying to get a database that evidences this very thing, because courts, we don't have a unified court system in Ohio, and so courts operate in vacuums. And you might tell a judge, you're biased, your decisions are biased. And that judge might say, no, they aren't. And then if you give them data, records to say, well, here are 100 African American defendants that you sentenced to longer prison terms, and here are non-African American defendants who committed the same crime who had shorter prison terms. So how do you explain that? I often, when I practice law too, I would often tell clients that, and particularly parents who had children who got in trouble, I would say when you bring your child to court and he or she is not doing anything, if he or she has dropped out of school, not working, living with the parents, laying around the house, no accountability, and when that child goes before a judge, that judge is going to see that child as doing nothing but going down a bad path to get into trouble. And so it's those things that we can change, the perception of who that child is. So God forbid he or she ends up in the justice system. Somehow it shows to that jurist that that child's life and worth is worth something other than basic human worth. And so those are the problems that we're trying to work through. But I think at the end of the day, it is absolutely implicit bias. It's okay because it's okay for that person to think I can put this person in jail for the rest of his life because he wasn't doing anything positive anyway, and I'm protecting society from people that for people like him. And you don't think that people like him could be your brother, your uncle, your father. And so I believe that's something we have to check against.
Thank you. Our next question is, what role do you think the media plays in perpetuating the polarization of our current political climate? How do we find valid information?
That's an excellent question, because I do believe the media perpetuates that, unfortunately. I would be hard pressed to believe that there has not been a single solitary incident of police officers using excessive force against a white suspect. Yet, has anybody seen any recently on television? Because of what's going on in our country, in the George Floyd killing, and the Brianna Taylor killing, it seems to only be noteworthy when a white police officer shoots, injures, or kills a black suspect. And I think the media does us a disservice when that happens, because it just polarizes us more. So I do think the media plays a role, and the media's job, unfortunately, is sensationalism. Where can we get actual facts? I think online, not that the media doesn't give us facts and information. I mean, rest assured, we wouldn't be where we are if it weren't for the advent of cell phone cameras and video footage. For those of us who are old enough to remember, to go back to, remember Rodney King and how far back that incident was? And that was somebody who just happened to have a video camera in their home and put it out the window and see Rodney King be beaten the way he was. That was the first time that people in America even thought that police did that. You know, we default to truth when we have to, but it's hard to believe for anybody, regardless of race, that people who take an oath to protect and serve you would harm you in that way. And so I don't have the exact answers to where to go, because I don't think the media should be discounted completely, but I do think we have to recognize that the media helps to polarize and to portray those particular biases.
Thank you. Our next question is, are there existing guidelines of how much danger to police officers is acceptable?
A good question too. I don't know if there are those guidelines. If there are no guidelines for every police department in this country, there should be. That's what needs to happen. Community activists, members of the police unions, police departments, people need to get together. There need to be clear, definite understandings of what things are. I'm an avid proponent for Maya Angelou's, one of her famous sayings: when you know better, you do better. And even in my work on the Supreme Court, I am always advocating putting in an opinion what constitutes, let's define for people what's a detention where someone's detained by a police officer, and what's a consensual encounter with a police officer. When there's a consensual encounter with a police officer, you are free to leave. You don't have to answer questions. You don't have to be searched. It's consensual. You're free to leave. When you are detained by a police officer lawfully, you are not free to leave. So I say, let's explain that. Let's let people know. And that's often met with backlash. I don't know why. Maybe it's to give the police officers an edge. But to me, the more you know, the better the lines of demarcation are. So if there are guidelines in place that say, for instance, let's say Rashard Brooks, I believe his name, the gentleman who was killed in Atlanta at the Wendy's, that was all on camera. That encounter clearly seemed to be fine leading up just before his death. I think there were African Americans in the Wendy's, the supervisor who called to say there's a man in our drive-through who's asleep. Police officers arrive, they smell alcohol, they determine he's intoxicated. He's being lawfully arrested for suspicion of driving under the influence. That's all fine. He puts his hands behind his back. He knows he's being arrested. He suddenly decides, I don't want to be arrested. Not today, not this day. What should have happened at that point? There's a tussle that ensues with the officers. He takes the taser. Now, there are many who believe the police should have let him.
I think Justice Stewart's video is frozen. Is anybody else having that issue?
Yes,
Okay,
I see it too.
Right now, I don't see her at all, so.
Okay, maybe she's gonna come back in. Thanks, TR.
This was definitely frozen.
She's frozen in time. So I say we hang out for a second and see if she comes back in.
I was probably talking.
There she is. There she is. She's back. I'm back to mute. Keep going. I apologize.
I know, were you hearing me? Was I blurring out?
You were talking
You were
about
frozen.
the incident at the Wendy's in Atlanta, and I can almost pick up where you left off. I mean, I'll tell you where you left off. I'm not going to pick up. I can tell you where you left off, which was, he was deciding not today, I'm not going to be arrested, and what should have happened next, and continue that dialogue, and I will mute.
Okay, thank you. I need to take you around with me more often, so you're having those senior moments. So there are those who felt that he should have been able to leave. And there are those who say, well, he got shot. He tried to resist arrest. What do you think should happen? Well, although resisting arrest is a crime, it's not a capital offense. You shouldn't meet with your life for resisting arrest. It compounds your problems. You have resisting arrest, you have assault on a police officer, you have obstruction of justice. I mean, all sorts of problems he would have had, but he shouldn't have had to lose his life that day. And my understanding of the only time a police officer should be able to use deadly force is when that officer legitimately fears for his or her own safety or for the safety of those around him. And so what's the protocol there? What does the Atlanta Police Department have that in that scenario trains those officers to make the right decisions? Because without the training, then we default to our emotions, or we default to our natural instincts. And some of those are deadly. So I do believe there should be guidelines, and I don't know if there are, but that's one of the primary questions that should come up, I believe, in every police department in this country.
Thank you. I know we're running close to the end of our Q&A time, but I think maybe because of the few minutes we had just a moment ago with the technical difficulties, I have a lot of great questions coming in. Maybe we can just, you can bear with me for just a little bit longer.
I can, as long as my internet does, I'm good.
So our next question is, do you have an opinion about the efforts to appoint someone to the U.S. Supreme Court during our current election process?
I do not have an opinion about the president's nominee. My opinion matter, quite frankly, on his nominee or any nominees to the Supreme Court. And this is interesting. This is my view on this whole scenario. So when there is a vacancy on the Supreme Court, the President of the United States has an obligation to make a nomination. President Trump is doing exactly what President Obama did when Justice Scalia died. My problem is with the hypocrisy of the United States Senate, because they are now trying to do in record time to get President Trump's nominee appointed when they languished over a year for President Obama's nominee, Merrick Garland. And what irks me more is the fact that now we are allowing our United States, not just now, but even back with President Obama's nominee, we're allowing our United States Senate to put politics over doing their jobs. So, you know, President Trump shouldn't be criticized for this, in my opinion. He's doing what the Constitution provides. There's a vacancy, he put forth a nominee. But the United States Senate has decided, well, we're in control. And they're very blatant about it. You know, elections have consequences. When you don't elect a majority of the people you want, then the other side will do what they want to do against you. That's not what our government, that's not what democracy is about. That's not what our Constitution says. And I don't care who's trying to do that position, Democrats or Republicans. You know, maybe we should do away with a two-party system completely. But the ire I have is with the hypocrisy of the United States Senate. And I just don't see how people tolerate that. And I don't see why we tolerate it and how we can stand it. So that's my biggest problem with the nomination process to the Supreme Court now.
Thank you. Okay, in the interest of time, I am going to pull, oh dear, one last question. I apologize to those of you who did not get your questions in. Maybe there's some way that we can still get those answered and out to you. And so the last question is, this year, the issue of voter access and suppression is obviously front and center in our national discourse. What can you tell us about how the role of the courts addressing this now and also in the event of a contested election will be?
That's probably a great final question. Thank you, Mr. Peoples. We are being inundated at the Supreme Court with various requests to do something with regard to election. It started back in March. For those of you in Ohio, if you recall, I believe our March primary was on the 17th, March 17th, and on March 16th, the governor, through the public health director, cut out in-person voting. And so the day that happened, a petition was filed in our court, in the Supreme Court, to let in-person voting go forward because the public health director ceased operations of not only just in-person voting, but any large crowd gatherings. I am an in-person voter. Several reasons. One, I don't get my act in time together to get I don't get my act together in time to get an absentee ballot. And I just am one of those people who like to get up in the morning and walk in the door and, you know, get my sticker, I don't know. But so that night, when a challenge came in to that decision, the Ohio Supreme Court, we were up until 3:30 in the morning having to decide, with the poll scheduled open at 6. So we have 88 counties on standby. 88 counties on standby of, are the poll workers going to work or not? So we made that decision at 3:30 in the morning to deny the writ, to allow the process to go forward. And it was on technical reasons. We later got sued for that decision because we issued a one-liner decision and someone thought we needed to explain our decision. We don't, not in cases like that. So then we were subsequently sued for making that decision and going through that litigation. We've had most recently, Kanye West wanted to be on the ballot. The Secretary of State said, no, your petitions are faulty. You can't be on the ballot. That came directly to the Supreme Court for us to decide whether the Secretary of State made the right decision. People are contesting ballot initiatives on the ballot. And by the way, after the primary, we had a slew of people who wanted everything from, nope, count the votes as of March 17, regardless that people didn't have the right to come in and vote. Enough absentee ballots in, I want it counted then. The 17th was the due date. You can't change that. And now, we're prepared to have a slew of challenges that come in because polls aren't opening in times, or polls aren't staying open as late, or there's some malfunctions with voting booths, and there are people who are not staying the appropriate distance. So election time is always a busy time for the Supreme Court, and we will probably be called upon to make a lot of decisions on the ballot. For the federal elections, whether something gets to the Supreme Court like it did with Bush v. Gore back in, 2000 or 2004 with hanging chads in Florida, anything that happens at that level could be interesting. But I do anticipate that we're going to have a lot of challenges at both the local, the state, and the federal level when it comes to this election.
Thank you, Justice Stewart. And I'm turning everything over to Vera for closing remarks. For the introduction of the awards portion.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharice. You did a fine job with that, and especially to our justice. Thank you for giving us your time today. You asked us, what can I do or what can we do? So we hope all of our alum have enjoyed hearing you today. I have my ballot here. I filled it out yesterday when it came in the mail. And me and Dr. Marilyn Mobley are going to go down tomorrow afternoon together and deliver our vote. And we're also going to call others to see if anybody needs a ride. I think there's a lot we can do to help people vote. I thank you for your questions today. They were all very, very good. I know I have several in my head. The no knock, it really bothers me. And the young lady and man that got killed here in East Cleveland about 6 or 8 years ago, it was horrible. It never seemingly made national news like Rodney King or George Floyd. But those people were just bulleted up, hundreds of bullets in their bodies. So there's a lot to be done with our justice system. And I hope that through the protest and all that's going on today, we will see some substantial changes in our own laws here in Ohio, especially no knock. I mean, that Brianna Taylor, that could be all of us any day of the week.
Any day. Yep.
So thank you, Justice. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, from the day I saw you, I said, I got to get her in Cleveland one day. I knew you lived here, but so this opportunity came. Yeah. And thank you for my committee. I didn't overrule anybody, but I was like, I want to get her. And your chief of staff, she was so wonderful. She responded so immediately. So we love you and we appreciate you. We congratulate you on getting on that ballot and winning. And yes, Stephanie, that was the only election she ever lost, was when she ran for Ohio Supreme Court. So everybody, let's just give her a big hand and a silent love you. Thank you. You're welcome to stay with us to see our awards today.
I will. I do want to see your award celebration.
Okay. So now, Elise, thank you for helping us. And Brad is in charge of all of our homecoming stuff, but Crystal Crosby is our main one. So we love her and shout out to her. So now we're going to go into our awards.
Good afternoon. My name is Vera Perkins Hughes. I'm the president of the African American Alumni Association, and we're here to present our awards for 2020. Our first award, the Stephanie Tubbs Jones Leadership Award, provides service to the broader community, loyalty to the university through participation or financial support, strong, effective leadership, and shows resilience in the face of adversity. Our first awardee is Dr. Theresa Dews, nominated by Vera Perkins Hughes. Cleveland Clinic announced the promotion of Theresa Dews, MD, as president of Cleveland Clinic Euclid Hospital, beginning July 15, 2019. Theresa is an accomplished leader and medical practitioner. We are fortunate to have her experience and knowledge leading Euclid Hospital and working with our team. It is a privilege to serve and continue our strong investment in the health of the Euclid community, said Edmund Sabanet, MD, President, Main Campus and Regional Hospital System. Before being named president of Euclid Hospital, Dr. Dews held several leadership positions, including Chief Medical Officer at Cleveland Clinic Hillcrest Hospital and Vice Chair of Cleveland Clinic's Pain Management Department. She previously served as Director of Cleveland Clinic's Outpatient Pain Management Center and Quality Review Officer for the Department of Pain Management in the Anesthesiology Institute. Additionally, Dr. Dews has been involved in medical student and physician education and is a clinical associate professor of anesthesiology in the CWRU Cleveland Clinic Lerner College of Medicine. She has been recognized as one of Northern Ohio Live's top doctors, selected as a member of Kaleidoscope Magazine's 40 Club, and inducted into Cleveland Heights High School Alumni Hall of Fame. She has published on several topics, including medication management for chronic pain. Dr. Dews is a graduate of the University of Toledo and Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine. She completed her residency in anesthesiology and a pain management fellowship at Cleveland Clinic before joining the staff in 1993. Congratulations, Dr. Theresa Dews.
Hello, I'm Dr. Theresa Dews, President of Cleveland Clinic Euclid Hospital and Clinical Associate Professor of Anesthesiology at Case Western Reserve University, Cleveland Clinic Lerner College of Medicine. I am also an alumna of Case Western Reserve University College of Medicine, class of 1988. The CWRU African American Alumni Association is extremely important for student recruitment, mentoring, and keeping alumni connected to the university. I would like to thank the association for selecting me for the Stephanie Tubbs Jones Leadership Award. Receiving this award is a special honor in that I knew Stephanie as a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I followed her career and celebrated her accomplishments as a trailblazer with many firsts that are well known to this community. We have all directly or indirectly benefited from her advocacy for her constituents and our country. Stephanie Tubbs Jones tirelessly worked from her core values of truth, fairness, and community service. Being in the field of medicine, I share those values with Congresswoman Tubbs Jones, and leading from my values has helped me stay grounded and to be effective in my space. I, along with my Delta sisters, Greater Cleveland, and the entire nation, mourned her untimely passing in 2008. Congresswoman Tubbs Jones continues to influence our lives in many important ways. Cleveland Clinic Euclid Hospital is committed to local communities and dominantly serves the northeast aspect of Cleveland, the city of Euclid, and eastern suburbs. As the president of Euclid Hospital, I work with my teams to provide the best place to receive care and the best place to work. In addition, physician education, mentoring, and coaching have been part of my drive to give back to others. There is always time. As we reflect on the enduring legacy of Congresswoman Stephanie Tubbs Jones, we are obligated to face and correct our present realities, such as the role of racism in public health and the disproportionate impact of COVID-19 on the African American community, as well as poor and disadvantaged persons. We must commit to a future of healthcare that truly fosters health promotion and prevention of disease in all of our citizens. Ultimately, we must do better for ourselves and for all we serve. I'm grateful for this recognition, and there are numerous people who have impacted my journey that I would like to acknowledge. Thank you to my husband of 34 years, David Dews, who always supports and believes in me. My children, David Jr. and Taylor, now young adults, who grew to understand having a mom who worked long hours yet was present when they needed her. My strong family and friends who know my strengths as well as my vulnerabilities. Lifelong friendships formed during medical school. Support and mentoring by colleagues like Dr. Thomas Browyer, a Cleveland Clinic anesthesiologist, who modeled the importance of loving the vocation of medicine and medical education. I am forever in your debt. Lastly, I thank the physician, nursing, and administrative teams I have worked with over the years, in particular my current leadership team at Euclid Hospital, who don't shy away from my persistence that almost everything is possible and solvable. In closing, I am truly humbled to have been considered for and awarded this honor, and I look forward to working with all in our community to achieve our mutual goals. Thank you.
Our next award is the Distinguished Academic Award, presented to current or former faculty or department heads who have made significant contributions to CWRU and their professional areas of expertise. This year's annual recipient is presented to Dr. Joy Bostick, nominated by Tiara Thomas. Dr. Joy Bostick is an associate professor in the Department of Religious Studies at CWRU and the founding director of the minor in African and African American Studies. She is a program faculty member of the Women's and Gender Studies and Ethnic Studies program and has served as an interim vice president for CWRU's Office of Inclusion, Diversity, and Equal Opportunity. Bostick is a Mellon Administrative Fellow and serves as a member of the steering committee for the Mysticism Unit of the American Academy of Religion. She is the author of several book chapters and scholarly articles on race, gender, and religion, and is the author of African American Female Mysticism, 19th Century Religious Activism. Bostick's forthcoming book, Performing Black Gods, Religion, Ritual, and Resistance in African American Popular Culture. She is a member of the Transatlantic Roundtable on Religion and Race and is co-editor of their forthcoming volume, Black Religious Landscapes. Professor Bostick received a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy from Indiana University and went on to earn a Juris Doctor and Master of Arts in Public Policy and Management from The Ohio State University. She attended Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary, where she was awarded the Master of Divinity degree. After graduating from seminary, she was ordained a Christian minister at Second Baptist Church in Evanston, Illinois. Reverend Bostick received her Ph.D. in Systematic Theology from Union Theological Seminary in the city of New York. An artist at heart, Professor Bostick is a student of dance, photography, and the textile arts. Congratulations, Dr. Joy Bostick.
Greetings, everyone. I'm so grateful to be with you and to receive a CWRU African American Alumni Association 2020 Distinguished Academic Award. I'm also honored to stand in this tradition with all of the other awardees and with all of those being recognized during these homecoming events. I want to especially thank Vera Hughes and the African American Alumni Association for all of the important work that you do for the CWRU community and its alum. I appreciate all of the active support you have given all of us who are working for social justice, inclusion, and diversity. The African American Alumni Association has been instrumental in calling for diverse academic offerings on CWRU's campus and for the establishment of an African American Studies program that highlights the history and culture of African American people. I deeply appreciate your support for my place here at the university and the work that we all do in the African and African American Studies program. And I want to accept this award on behalf of all of our program faculty members who work really hard and who are dedicated and committed to creating change, and whose work now is more important than ever as our nation must confront the challenges of systemic racism and the urgent need for social change. I celebrate with all of you during these homecoming events, and I look forward to the time when we can celebrate again face to face, and I look forward to all of the work that we shall do in the future. Enjoy the rest of your homecoming celebration. I wish you much success in all that you do on behalf of the university community. Thank you again.
The next award is the Ella Mae Johnson Service Award. This award is given to those who provides direct service to the university, makes a difference in the lives of others, provides extensive service to the community through volunteering and civic engagement. This year's recipient is Dr. Frances Curd, nominated by Sarah Lyons. Dr. Curd has spent the last 40-plus years tirelessly advancing excellency in dentistry. He is dedicated to ensuring his students have the best dental education and clinical experience possible. While a preceptor and assistant professor at Case Western Reserve University School of Dental Medicine and at the other institutions where he has taught, he focused on ensuring his students were excellent clinicians. He is a humanitarian and has had notable community involvement throughout his career. He served on the board of directors for Health Legacy of Cleveland, an organization that provides scholarships to minority dental and medical students. Dr. Curd has raised awareness about dental health disparities and has led the charge to improve these conditions through his numerous leadership positions in international, national, and local dental organizations. Over the years, Dr. Curd has been deeply involved with the American Dental Education Association in section leadership and as a speaker, and as a consultant with the Commission on Dental Competency Assessments, among other professional organizations. He remains committed to the community, having served as the chairman of the Manatee County Healthcare Advisory Committee. He helped structure and integrate advancements in dentistry into the curriculum of all the schools he taught, while serving on accreditation, academic rank, and curriculum committees. Dr. Curd has shown excellence in the profession as a highly respected speaker and researcher. He has been invited to speak all over the country and has addressed the United States Congress on oral health disparities and diversity in medical and dental schools. His outstanding research has been published in 6 abstracts and 14 publications. Congratulations, Dr. Frances Curd.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Frances M. Curd, and I'm excited, honored, and humbled to receive the Ella Mae Johnson Service Award for 2020 from the African American Alumni Association of Case Western Reserve University. I am a 1977 graduate of Case Western Reserve University School of Dental Medicine. First, I would like to thank God and Jesus Christ for blessing me with the opportunity to receive a great education and being able to continue to provide dental services to patients and provide outreach services to members of the surrounding communities for over 43 years. I would like to thank Ms. Sarah Lyons for nominating me for this award. Sarah is a very good friend, and she's doing fantastic work in her position as Director of Alumni Relations at Case Western Reserve University School of Dental Medicine. Thank you very much, Sarah. I would like to thank the members of the African American Alumni Association of Case Western Reserve University for selecting me to receive the Ella Mae Johnson Service Award. Thank you for this great recognition of my many years of service in dental education and community service. I would like to thank Case Western Reserve University School of Dental Medicine for providing me with an excellent dental education over 43 years ago, and for the opportunity to pursue my passion of teaching in dental education and mentoring young students in healthcare professions. I would like to thank the many doctors and professionals who gave of their time to mentor me and to help me throughout my dental career. I would especially like to thank and mention Dr. Jefferson Jones, who was a faculty member and chairman of the Department of Endodontics at the Case Western Reserve University School of Dental Medicine when I was a student and faculty member. Dr. Jones was a guiding force in my career. I would like to also thank the many members of the community that worked with me on many different community projects that have helped so many people. I have found through working in dental education, community dental organizations, and private practice dentistry that one of the biggest unmet health needs for indigent populations is access to dental care. There is an abundance of unmet dental health need in the community. This is why I focused a part of my career on recruiting young Black and underrepresented minorities into the profession of dentistry and continue to do so today. Thank you again to the African American Alumni Association of Case Western Reserve University for recognizing me with the Ella Mae Johnson Service Award. Thank you for all the hard work that your organization is doing at Case Western Reserve University. Thank you.
Starting with the Rising Star Award, this award is presented to someone who has graduated within the last 15 years and demonstrates potential long-term leadership and distinction. This year's award recipient is Brian Webster, nominated by Tiara Thomas. Since his arrival in Cleveland, Brian has continued to serve the community. His work has been primarily with the youth of Cleveland, but he has certainly made his mark across the board. In addition, he serves as a member of the African American Alumni Association Board, where he is membership chair. Last year, he was recognized as a Cleveland's future history maker. Brian Webster moved to Cleveland, Ohio in 2007 to study sociology and communication sciences at Case Western Reserve University, later receiving his master's in public administration from Cleveland State University in 2013. A Cleveland Bridge Builders graduate, Webster currently serves as site coordinator at Anton Gardenia School for Burton Bell Car Development, Incorporated. Here, Webster assists in securing resources and organizing various programs for the school's scholars and their families to utilize and participate. Webster also serves as a mentor and program facilitator for Neighborhood Leadership Institute's youth leadership programs. In addition, Webster manages registration logistics for All About Your Health's annual Boys and Girls Summit. Webster volunteers at the American Heart Association, Life Bank, where he assists in planning and producing Life Bank's Stepping for Life Greek Step show. He is a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, Incorporated. Congratulations, Brian Webster.
Hello, my name is Brian Webster, and I would just like to thank the African American Alumni Association for recognizing me for this fantastic award. I truly appreciate this honor. It's truly humbling. I will continue to try to impact as many lives as possible. My motto has always been, I can save the world one child at a time with my youth work, volunteering, and just being active. I came to Cleveland about 12 years ago, to go to Case, to go to college. It's my second network, another home for me as I'm still here. And, I was always taught growing up to take care of home. So that's why I do all I do for the community. That's why I try to stay involved with the African American Alumni Association. And I'm just going to keep building, keep getting better. And again, I just want to thank, everybody that supported me all my life, my family, friends. And I truly, am honored, and I will do all I can to uphold every value that the association has taught me, that Case has taught me that the community in my home has taught me. And again, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate it. I hope everybody stays safe out there. Take care. And let's just keep helping each other. Continue to work. And let's just heal the world. Thank you.
Our final award today is the President's Award. It is being presented to someone that has served the university and the African American alumni in special ways. The person selected to receive this award is Sharon Janice Brown. I selected Sharon because of her ability to draw the community together. She is the one who helped establish the African American Alumni Association at Case Western Reserve University as an affinity group. Sharon, through her work, kept in contact with those members of the African American Alumni Association who had began gathering since the 1970s. And once she found out about this group, she made it her goal to integrate herself within the group and attended many of their events. She saw the value in their relationship and brought the idea, along with others, to become an affinity of Case Western Reserve University. Sharon provided 46 years of dedicated service to Case Western Reserve University as an employee. She helped endow many scholarships, including the Michael E. Fisher and Doc Keller scholarships named for African American CWRU community members. And she provides many years of invaluable support to the African American Alumni Association. Sharon Janice Brown, we award you this year the President's Award. Thank you for your service. Congratulations.
Hello, my name is Sharon Brown, formerly known as Sharon Jordan Davis. I would like to say thank you to the African American Alumni Association for presenting me with the 2020 President's Award for Leadership. I started working at the university 46 years ago in 1973, and I retired in July of 2019. During that time, I had the distinct pleasure of meeting with wonderful alumni from across the campus, primarily in the College of Arts and Sciences where I was based, as an executive director of constituent relations. I also had the pleasure of working with a dedicated core group of alumni who had been meeting outside of the university for several years, forming their own reunions. That group of alumni came together, worked with the university, and formed the now African American Alumni Association. I also helped to endow scholarships by raising monies, and those scholarships are named. One of them in particular is the Doc Kelker Scholarship, the Michael E. Fisher Scholarship, and several other scholarships that are housed in the different schools and colleges across the campus. My time at the university was wonderful, and again, I just wanted to say thank you. I've met some very interesting people, had the distinct pleasure of meeting African American women who were in the classes of 1936 and 1937, the only African American in their class, the only woman in their class majoring in math and sciences. I also had the pleasure of working with distinct alumni, as our late Congresswoman Stephanie Tubbs Jones, who was also a part of the African American Alumni Association and got that going. So again, I could go on and tell you all sorts of stories, but right now I just want to say thank you. Not only from myself, but also I would like to congratulate all of the other alumni that are receiving awards during homecoming weekend. Again, thank you, and we will soon get together to have our fellowship as we always had in the past. Our Friday night gathering, our Saturday morning meetings, our Saturday evening gala, and our Sunday morning inspirational breakfast at all of the traditional events of the African American Alumni Homecoming Weekend. Again, thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening to our awardees and their acceptance. We award them today and we applaud all that they have done and their achievements. And we look forward to this part every 2 years where we give out special awards. So congratulations everyone. And thank you so much for staying with us, all of our participants today.